That can't be the sun because the sunset is over there.
The unusual.
Have you ever looked up at the sky and felt a cold shiver of fear run down your spine, like God was quietly whispering that mankind's time is running out? When wars break out, natural disasters roar, and diseases sweep through country after country, the sky doesn't stay silent anymore. It starts shaking, flashing, cracking open, like a giant warning sign hanging right above our heads. From America to India, strange things keep showing up one after another. A second sun burning bright red on the horizon, black rings just hanging motionless in the air, dark gates swinging wide open between the clouds, swirling lights like some secret ritual, loud trumpet sounds ripping through the sky, huge shadowy figures appearing in the storm. 3 suns lined up in a cold row. It all comes fast, piling on top of each other, as if the sky is in a hurry to send a message that humanity isn't ready to face yet. Do you feel like the future is getting squeezed tighter every day? Leave a prayer in the comments below, the way you hold on to your faith, before we go deeper into each sign and find out what's really waiting ahead, okay? Amen. Now, come with me as we dig in and get started with 1. The mystery about 2 suns appearing at the same time in Florida. A second bright red sun suddenly hung in the Florida sky, turning a peaceful sunset into something breathtaking and a little scary. In Jacksonville and Fort Walton Beach, folks rushed outside, panicked, holding up their phones to record it. Even just watching on a screen, you could feel how unreal and mysterious it looked. No one had time to figure out what was happening as that glowing ring flared up and swelled right along the horizon. That huge red thing was said to be almost a mile wide, hanging low and burning fiercely next to the real sun as it set, painting the whole sky a thick blood red. Thick smoke from wildfires up in Canada had drifted down, creating a heavy haze that made everything feel even more dreamlike, like a curtain being pulled back to reveal something hidden for a long time. A lot of people got scared when they realized this wasn't our usual sun, but a fiery red eye watching over humanity. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." Hearing those words while staring at 2 glowing orbs side by side sent chills down the spine. Then Matthew 24:29 warns, "Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken." Could this be the first bell ringing from that red sky? Still, some folks say it was just the wildfire smoke changing the sun's color, or maybe lens flare from phone cameras. But why did that glow look so separate, so huge, and hang there quietly for so long on the horizon? Science talks about refraction and atmospheric dust, but it doesn't quite chase away the feeling that something unusual just showed itself. When 2 lights sit together in the same frame, all the calm explanations start to feel pretty thin. I'm sharing this as something that really happened, but I can't ignore the spiritual weight it carries. If this is just the opening act, if those 2 suns are only the first sign, then what happens when the line between the familiar light and this strange one blurs completely? And if one day they collide in some fateful moment, will the sky ever stay quiet like it used to? 2. Mysterious shapes appear with each flash and flicker of lightning in the clouds. Boom! Lightning bolts rip across the Chicago sky, then roll down toward Texas like blinding white slashes. In those shaking moments, strange, eerie forms suddenly show up among the thick black clouds. A familiar stormy night turns into a warning. making folks on the ground tremble as they look up. If you saw it yourself, you'd probably get chills with every thunderclap crashing down because of its sheer power. Between the non-stop flashes, dark structures pop out for a split second, then vanish when the light dies. They're hundreds of feet long, woven together like giant wheels, nested inside each other. They don't drift like regular clouds or break apart like smoke. They appear in an orderly way, forming a huge hanging network in the sky, like a massive machine slowly waking up. Every time lightning flares, those circles stand out clearer, then get swallowed back into the dark, leaving the sky heavy with mystery. Ezekiel 1:16 says, "The appearance of the wheels and their workmanship was like the gleam of beryl, and the four of them had the same likeness." Their appearance and workmanship being something like a wheel within a wheel. When people compare those old words to what's caught on spreading videos, a lot of them get goosebumps over the strange similarity between an ancient vision and these modern storm images. On social media, folks are split right down the middle. One side says, "It's just pareidolia, our brains making shapes out of mammatus clouds lit up by lightning, and science can explain it all with unstable atmospheric patterns." The other side, the faithful ones, believe it can't be pure coincidence that these wheels within wheels show up right when the sky is shaking so hard. It feels like something's being allowed to peek through. Some even say it looks exactly like descriptions of the Ophanim angels. Do you agree with that view? Revelation 6:12 says, "When the Lamb opened the sixth seal, I saw a great earthquake. The sun became black as sackcloth made of hair, and the whole moon became like blood." That talk of earth and sky shaking, darkness covering everything, makes many believe these storm shapes aren't just illusions. They're part of a series of signs slowly being revealed. In all the arguing and doubting, the question isn't just clouds or no clouds anymore. It's why these structures match so closely with descriptions written thousands of years ago. If it's only weather, that coincidence is really hard to explain. If not, then maybe we just caught a brief glimpse of guardian angels that usually stay hidden behind thick clouds. I'm not just reporting news anymore. When those wheels appeared in the thunder and lightning, it felt like a warning went out. If lightning keeps tearing the sky in coming storms, will the Ophanim show themselves more fully? And if they do, what might come after such a powerful appearance? 3. Mysterious bright streaks. The sky suddenly turned into a strange map when thin lines of light flashed and curved through the clouds, like an invisible hand was halfway through, drawing an old message. No big boom, no wild storm, just a weird moment that lasted a few seconds and made folks shiver, wondering, did we just miss a sign? Those patterns vanished so fast that your memory barely had time to catch them. In California and Florida, where people are used to sky shows and lights up high, lots of witnesses said they saw strange glows behind the high clouds. Then parallel lines stretched out for miles, like a web. They weren't straight like regular contrails. They curved in patterns, crossed neatly, then disappeared, leaving the sky empty, as if nothing had happened. That surprise left many people standing still for minutes, staring at the spot that had just changed. Some folks give a science explanation, maybe gravity waves or noctilucent clouds catching light way up high, a rare thing, but not supernatural. That sounds reasonable, but why do those lines look so perfect, so balanced and repeating, almost like a design? What do you think when something that seems random starts looking intentional? That question just hangs there quietly, up in the sky and in people's hearts. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." When folks read that again, many believers feel those curving cloud lines might be part of those wonders, not to scare us, but to wake us up. If the sky really is a place where power shows itself, then even a small change could mean something bigger than just science. The videos show a flash of light right before the lines appear, like an invisible door cracked open. They stretch miles across a pale gray sky, then fade in just a few breaths, making people feel like they saw something outside the usual order. The mystery is that it's quiet, no noise, no drama, and that's exactly why it makes you think harder. Matthew 24-30 says, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn. And they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." That Bible verse isn't just about something far off. It hints the sky will show signs you can't mistake. Could those strange patterns be a gentle reminder to look up and search for deeper meaning? Even as science keeps looking for answers, the way Bible descriptions match what people saw makes many believe this isn't just weather. Those lines feel like the first brushstrokes in a bigger picture, a light mark, but strong enough to stir up faith that's grown cold. When the light flashes and fades, what's left isn't just empty sky, it's a quiet question burning inside whoever watched. If that's really God's mark, drawing a soft warning before bigger changes come, where do we stand in that picture? Are those patterns just the opening notes for a wider door that might open in the sky? And if one day those lines don't fade but form a clear image, will humanity be ready for what's waiting ahead? 4. 2 mysterious dark objects hanging in the sky. 2 huge black shapes suddenly appeared, just hanging there in the thick clouds, completely still like gates that had opened from some other world. The whole sky went dark for a few breathless minutes. No thunder, no loud boom, just these threatening round black voids showing up. If you looked up and saw a hole like that staring down at you, what would you think it was? In places like Basel and Milwaukee, where thick clouds often cover the sky, people who saw them said those shapes didn't drift like smoke or fade like mist. They stayed solid and steady in a way that gave you chills. They were round or oval, maybe about 500 feet across, with really sharp edges, and the center so dark it seemed to swallow all the light around it. The scene wasn't noisy, but that very quietness made it feel more eerie and scary than any storm. Some folks say these were fall streak holes, those cloud holes that form when ice crystals drop and clear out the surrounding cloud layer. Scientists explain that planes flying through super cold cloud layers can cause this, leaving a clear, round gap in the sky. They point out it's a known physical process that's been studied, not some supernatural gate, and we don't deny that. Science always tries to explain things that seem strange. But the question still hangs there, just like those dark shapes. And why were they so black this time, almost soaking up the light? And why did they stay still for so long while the clouds around them were moving? Have you ever wondered, if everything can be explained, then where does that creepy feeling come from? It's right in that mix of knowing and uneasiness that people start turning to old writings. Acts 2:19 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above, and signs on the earth below, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." When strange shapes like this hang in the sky, many believers see it as more than just weather. They see it as a quiet warning that humanity is entering a time to wake up, not to spread panic, but to remind us that darkness isn't only up in the clouds. Isaiah 13:10 says, "The stars of heaven and their constellations will not show their light. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will not give its light." Those sky holes with black patches remind people of a time when light gets covered up, like some dark period is drawing near. If those sky gates are just clouds, they still remind us nature can change in an instant. But if they're a sign, it's a much stronger warning. Science keeps watching and explaining, but the event still leaves a lasting, uneasy feeling for those who saw it. Those 2 hanging shapes are like doors opening in the sky, real yet mysterious, something you can measure yet beyond any measurement. If they're gates to God's judgment, as some believe, then what are we standing at the edge of? And if one day those gates don't just hang there, but really open wider, swallowing all the light around them, what do you think is on the other side? Just the cold, empty space of the atmosphere, or something people have long avoided naming? 5. A strange black circle floating in the sky. A huge black ring suddenly appeared, hanging right on the horizon. It was so sharp and clear that a lot of people just froze, feeling like they were looking at some kind of curse drawn across the sky. It wasn't a cloud, it wasn't birds, it was a perfect circle just suspended in the air, completely still, almost challenging anyone to look away. That image hit hard right away. Hundreds of eyes stayed locked on it in heavy, quiet shock. It was spotted near Disneyland and over in Williamsburg, where the late afternoon sky had been nice and clear before sunset. Folks who saw it figured the black ring was about 200 feet across. It looked clean and almost perfectly even, not spread out and messy like normal smoke. As the light got weaker, the edges thinned out, but the shape stayed the same, like it was hanging there on purpose for everyone to see. A lot of people thought it might be a smoke ring from fireworks or from an electrical transformer blowing up and forming a circle. That idea isn't crazy. Power explosions can make black smoke rings for a short while. But what got people wondering was how it showed up exactly at that bright red sunset time and stayed nearly motionless in just a light breeze. Have you ever seen a smoke ring hang still that long in a wide open sky? That black ring didn't swirl hard or disappear fast. It just floated there, like a sign against the sky, turning deep purple. When the sun touched the horizon, the outer edge got thinner, making it feel like a giant eye slowly closing. That strange, eerie feeling gave a lot of people chills, not just from the shape, but from the sense that something you can't quite name was closing in around them. Revelation 15:1 says, "I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues. For in them the wrath of God is complete." When a perfect black circle hung there like a mark in the sky, quite a few believers took it as one of those signs warning that God's wrath is getting close. Even if science can't explain it, the image still brought to mind warnings about the last days. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven, and on the earth there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places." Great signs from heaven aren't always meteors or eclipses. Sometimes it's just a clear symbol that stirs up fear in everybody. That floating black ring in the fading daylight felt like a picture of being surrounded, of darkness slowly closing in around all of humanity. No one knows for sure what really caused it. The strange sight was caught on video from different angles and spread fast. The worry wasn't just the odd shape, it was the feeling that it showed up at exactly the right moment and place, like something set up on purpose. As the ring thinned out and faded into the dark sky, a lot of people just stood there, staring up at the empty space it left behind. If that black ring was only smoke, it still leaves a question about why it appeared at that exact time and looked so perfect. But if, as some people believe, it stood for the final darkness closing in, then was that fading away just a temporary pause? Once it vanished completely, will the darkness keep spreading and swallow the whole sky? Or was that only the start of something even bigger waiting ahead? 6. Mysterious circle of light. A strange thing spread right in the middle of the dark night. Circles of light started spinning out of nowhere in the sky. No warning, no clear explanation. From far away, they looked like glowing wheels turning slowly high up in the air, real and dreamlike at the same time, making anyone who saw them wonder if they were watching a show or some ancient ritual coming back to life. It happened in Nagpur, a busy city full of LED lights, light festivals, and outdoor events. But that night, the beams didn't just shoot up and fade like usual. They spun in perfect circles, growing into huge rings of light hundreds of feet up. They moved smoothly together, overlapping, spreading out, then pulling back in, like they were drawing perfect concentric circles against the deep black sky. People gathered in the streets, looking up as the bands of light swept across, then curled into rounds. White light mixed with blue swept over thin clouds, creating a magical effect. It reminded folks of drone shows or disco lights, but on a much bigger scale, with impossibly smooth motion, as if some invisible hand was guiding it all. Every spin was steady, unhurried, never messy, so viewers felt there was some deep order behind the light. Ezekiel 1-4 says, "I looked, and there was a whirlwind coming from the north, a great cloud, with flashing fire all around, and brightness surrounding it." Reading that again, the spinning lights in the night clouds suddenly felt very close and familiar, like those circles were an echo of an old vision. Bright light surrounding the cloud, moving with purpose, it brought to mind glory and power beyond normal understanding. Some say it was just revolving lights for a local event, but the question remains, why did similar videos show up in other places around the world at the same time? That kind of timing, even if it's a coincidence, still makes you feel the light wasn't just man-made tech. When the circles spin steady like ancient wheels, people start thinking of visions recorded thousands of years ago. Joel 2:31 says, "The sun will be turned to darkness, and the moon to blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes." Acts 2:20 repeats it, "The sun will be turned to darkness, and the moon to blood, before the great and glorious day of the Lord comes." These Bible verses feel like a key, tying light and darkness together in the same motion, signaling a shift from the old order to something glorious arriving. As the circles kept turning, then slowed before fading into the night, a deep curiosity spread through the crowd. If it was only technology, it still showed a hidden human longing for something sacred. But if it was a sign, maybe we're quietly watching preparations for a much bigger day. Those steady circular movements felt like a ritual opening the way, a prelude before the curtain rises. Imagine one night, the spinning doesn't fade away, but stops right there in the sky, the light gathering into a clear shape. If an angel really appeared inside that circle, would we recognize it as the return we've been told about? Or would we keep looking for another explanation while the sky quietly keeps turning overhead? 7. Strange shadow moving in the storm. Right in the eye of the storm, a huge, shadowy figure holding a staff suddenly appears in a flash of lightning, pitch black and towering like a messenger from the heavens just streaking through the sky. It leaves you with a real chill running down your spine. This wasn't some regular cloud, not a tree shadow or a power pole. It was a clear human shape standing tall against the swirling sky. In that moment, as the lightning ripped through the dark, you could almost feel heavy footsteps strolling across the clouds above. This was caught on camera in the Philippines and in Minnesota, places that know all about fierce storms and constant thunder and lightning. In just a few seconds of bright flash, the dark figure stood out plainly, probably hundreds of feet tall, one hand seeming to grip a long staff pointed toward the ground. When the lightning faded, the shadow vanished fast, but it lasted long enough for several cameras to capture its almost perfect outline. People who saw it say they didn't just see it, they felt its presence, like the figure wasn't standing still but gently shifting with each rolling cloud. Its shape wasn't some random distortion, it looked strangely balanced, from the head and shoulders right down to what looked like that staff in its hand. We can tell ourselves it's just light playing tricks and our imagination running wild, but that feeling of being watched from way up high sticks with you long after the storm passes. Weather experts say this is probably pareidolia, when our brains see human faces or figures in random patterns, like clouds and lightning flashes. They explain that a bolt can light up layers of clouds from just the right angle, creating a quick illusion. That makes sense. Storm skies are always changing and chaotic. Still, why does the illusion come out so clearly as a person holding a staff, clear enough that several people spot the same kind of figure at once? Matthew 24-27 says, "For as the lightning comes from the east and shines as far as the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." When that lightning cuts across the sky and reveals this giant shadow, that Bible verse rings out more like a hint than a coincidence. It appears with the flash, quick but unmistakable, and many believers feel it's a reminder that something powerful is drawing near. Revelation 6:13 says, "The stars fell to the earth as the fig tree drops its late figs when shaken by a strong wind." In the middle of the storm, with thunder, lightning, and wild gusts shaking the sky, that staff-holding shadow feels like part of a bigger picture, where heaven and earth are both trembling. Not to scare us into panic, but like a warning bulletin that dark moments can cover everything before something tremendous arrives. If it's only an illusion, it still touches our deepest fear. Something huge and out of our control watching us. But if it's a real messenger sent to warn us, then every lightning flash from now on might not be just nature anymore. And if on another stormy night, that shadow doesn't just stroll across the clouds, but comes closer, clearer in the blinding light, will we call it another trick of the eye? Or will that be the moment the sky doesn't just light up, but actually opens so the sacred can step down to earth? 8. A trumpet sound echoed across the Paris sky. Suddenly, in the middle of the afternoon, a sharp, piercing noise came from above, stopping the whole neighborhood in its tracks, like someone blew a giant horn right through the gray clouds. No car horns, no church bells, just a long, booming trumpet note that vibrated deep in your chest, making you look up without thinking, trying to find where it came from. In just a few minutes, the usual calm turned into confused chaos. It happened in Paris, the city once called the City of Light, but that day it was filled with this strange sound no one could pin down. The trumpet echoed, low then high, long blasts like metal wind slicing through the air, bouncing off the old stone walls and coming right back. People in the square jumped. Some ran in different directions. Others froze, holding phones up to the sky in a shared shiver. The sound wasn't like an airplane or an alarm siren. It felt like an ancient instrument amplified 100 times. It cut through the air, held long, then stopped short, only to start again, as if someone was testing long notes up among the clouds. Those who heard it said the ground seemed to tremble a little, hearts beat faster, and the sky felt heavy pressing down whenever the sound hit its peak. Many scientists and sound engineers think it could be sky trumpets, atmospheric noises from shifting tectonic plates, metal sounds from construction, or echoes in subway tunnels. They point out that Earth often makes strange sounds when pressure and geology change. That explanation makes some sense. But why did it sound exactly like a classic trumpet, with clear rhythm and pitch? 1 Thessalonians 4:16 says, "For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God." When that Bible verse came up amid the chaos, many believers didn't see it as just coincidence. A trumpet from the sky isn't only a sound, it's a signal, a wake-up call in a serious time that no one can ignore. Revelation 8:2 says, "And I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them." The picture of trumpets handed to angels feels like a strong warning of events that follow the first sound. If each blast marks a step, then the noise in the sky that day might just be the beginning of something much bigger being prepared. The sound finally faded, leaving a heavy silence on the streets. But that quiet didn't bring peace. It felt more like the pause between 2 trumpet blasts, everyone waiting for what comes next. Even as science keeps searching for the cause, the echo of that trumpet still haunts those who heard it. If it was only a natural event, it was strong enough to shake an entire city. But if it was God's trumpet calling people to wake up, then each next blast might not just be noise. It could be the sign of a new chapter in history opening. And when that trumpet sounds again, will we realize what we're facing? 9. Mysterious glowing orb above the mosque tower in Medina. In the quiet, peaceful air of the holy site, a soft, round light suddenly appeared above the mosque tower. It wasn't loud or flashy. but it was enough to make everyone stop and look up in silent awe. The orb wasn't blinding like fireworks, and it didn't streak across the sky like a shooting star. It just floated there, calmly, like a gentle point of light against the night sky. In that moment, you could almost feel your own heartbeat slow down, as if you were seeing something beyond everyday life. The sighting happened in Medina, right above the area near Al-Masjid an-Nabawi, one of the most important holy places in Islam. Witnesses described the orb as glowing, with a white light tinged with gold. It looked about a few feet across when compared to the size of the tower. It hung steady in the air, with no engine noise or any sign of control. It didn't move like a drone, didn't shake in the wind, just quietly stayed there, then slowly faded away like a soft breath. Some people thought of those metallic orbs that have been filmed in the Middle East, bright round objects reflecting moonlight and city lights. But what made this event stand out was the location and the sacred feeling all around it. The orb didn't shoot away or explode. It just gradually disappeared, layer by layer of light, as if it had delivered some silent message before leaving. A few folks said it might have been nothing more than a balloon catching the glow from lights below, or maybe a small piece of meteor burning up and going out. Those explanations could easily be true in our physical world. But why would something so ordinary show up exactly over a holy place, where millions come looking for peace and prayer? That coincidence alone makes many people think deeper instead of settling for a simple mechanical answer. Matthew 24:3 says, "As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. 'Tell us,' they said, 'when will this happen? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?'" People have been asking about signs for thousands of years. And every time something strange shows up in the sky, it reminds us of that longing to understand our place in the bigger flow of time. That glowing orb, in the stillness of Medina, felt like a gentle nudge that the question still matters. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars." That floating light might just be a natural thing, or it might be one of those signs the Bible mentions. Not to scare us, but to strengthen faith. When a sign appears right in a sacred place, it links heaven and earth in a single moment, making faith feel more alive than ever. If it was a quiet reminder to hold on to steady faith in a changing world, then that light did its job. But if it comes back another night, not just floating, but shining brighter and carrying a clearer message, will we be ready to really hear what that holy light is trying to say? 10. Mysterious glowing orb above the mosque tower in Medina. In the calm, peaceful air around the holy site, a soft, round light just appeared above the mosque tower. It wasn't loud or showy, but it made everyone stop and look up in quiet wonder. The orb wasn't bright like fireworks, and it didn't zip across the sky like a shooting star. It simply floated there, steady and gentle, like a soft light against the dark night. Right then, you could almost feel your own heart slow down, as if you were seeing something bigger than normal life. This happened in Medina, right over the area near Al-Masjid an-Nabawi, one of the holiest places in Islam. People who saw it said the orb glowed with white light that had a touch of gold. It looked maybe a few feet wide compared to the tower. It stayed perfectly still in the air, no engine sound, no sign it was being controlled. It didn't dart around like a drone or wobble in the wind. It just hung there quietly, then slowly faded away like a soft sigh. Some folks remembered those shiny metallic orbs caught on video in the Middle East, bright round things that catch moonlight and city lights. But what made this one special was the place and the peaceful, sacred feeling all around. The orb didn't zoom off or blow up. It just gently disappeared, layer by layer, as if it had quietly shared a message before going. A few people figured it was probably just a balloon picking up light from below, or maybe a small meteor fragment burning out. Those things could easily happen in the real world. But why would something so everyday appear exactly over such a holy spot? where millions come for peace and prayer. That one fact alone makes a lot of us pause and think deeper, instead of going with the easy answer. Matthew 24:3 says, "As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. 'Tell us,' they said, 'when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?'" For thousands of years, people have been asking about signs. And every time something unusual appears in the sky, it brings back that deep wish to understand where we fit in the bigger picture of time. That glowing orb in the quiet of Medina felt like a soft reminder that the question still matters. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars." That floating light might just be something natural, or it might be one of those signs the Bible talks about. Not to frighten us, but to build up our faith. When a sign shows up right in a holy place, it connects heaven and earth in one special moment, and faith suddenly feels more real and alive. If it was a gentle nudge to keep holding on to solid faith in a changing world, then that light did what it was meant to do. But if it comes back some other night, not just floating, but shining stronger with a clearer message, will we be ready to truly listen to what that holy light is trying to tell us? The 10 strange signs we've just seen aren't standing alone like random acts of nature. Together, they form a bigger picture that no one can just ignore. From sky-shaking sounds, glowing orbs floating in the air, to 3 suns lined up across the sky, all of them show a strange rhythm between heaven and earth. When we place them next to the old prophecies, we start to see a match that makes the heart stop and think. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." What we're seeing today seems to echo that very warning. Not to scare people into panic, but to wake up a generation that's fallen asleep in the false safety of technology and human reasoning. Matthew 24:42 reminds us, "Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come." Staying awake isn't just about watching the sky. It's about looking inside our own soul. If these signs are like alarm bells, the important thing isn't arguing where they come from. It's what they're calling us back to. Revelation 3:20 says, "Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person." In the middle of all these changes in nature and society, that door might just be the human heart. These 10 strange signs don't try to pin down the exact day or hour of the end, but they remind us that time isn't forever, and the chance to repent, to love, to change is still open. This isn't a message of fear. It's an invitation full of hope. Hope that before it's too late, people will choose humility over pride, faith over indifference. Each of us can start with a simple prayer, a decision to live a little more honestly than yesterday, or one real act of kindness in everyday life. If something here touches your heart, leave a prayer or a thought in the comments below. Let's build a place together where faith is strengthened and we remind each other to stay awake. And if these words make you think more deeply, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next message. Thank you for staying with me until this moment. I pray that you and your family are kept safe in peace, protected through every storm, and that you find light even in the darkest days. Amen. The sky is speaking. Are you listening?
I don't know what in the holy funnel is going on in front of me, but
¿qué es eso? Si se supone que ya está el sol.
Is the sky sending humanity its final warning? A door of light appeared in the middle of the sky. A tightly twisted tower of clouds reaching thousands of feet high. A red ring hanging straight up in the night. A still halo of light right before a big storm. Orange beams shooting straight through the clouds. It all happened so fast, one after another, with no warning. Then, a green pillar of light rose up in the dark night. A floating fireball exploded with a boom. A huge, white ring covered the city. Bright spots streaked across the New Jersey sky. A white shape hidden inside a ring of smoky clouds. History has recorded big light rings in Italy and glowing orbs in the US. But this time, the events came one right after another, like a clear message. Do you believe these are warnings and that our time is running short? If your answer is yes, please leave a prayer in the comments to show your faith before we go into each sign in detail. Amen. And now, so you don't have to wait long, we'll get started right away with 1. The Sky Gate opens right in front of humanity. A glowing window hangs motionless in the sky, like someone sliced a straight line through space. Up on a high mountain in the US, a hiker raises his camera, and that moment gets caught on video before we even figure out what we're looking at. It's not clouds, not an airplane, not a sun reflection. It's a clear, sharp opening right there in the open air. That perfect circle appears about 300 feet above the ground, sparkling like a pane of glass, showing another world. Its edges tremble a little, not because of wind or weather. The air around it feels stretched, as if an invisible curtain just got parted. The whole thing lasts only a few seconds, but long enough for the camera to record it and clear enough to rule out a simple trick of the eye. This reminds a lot of folks about the Brock inspector seen on mountains in New Hampshire, where a person's shadow gets a bright ring from fog and sunlight. But this is different. No shadow of a person, no rainbow halo, just a door frame, standing alone in the middle of the sky. Some people link it to physics ideas about extra dimensions, that the universe might have more than our usual 3, maybe up to 11, according to string theory. Revelation 6:14 says, "The sky vanished like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved from its place." The image of the sky rolling up like a book makes many think right away of that bright frame hanging there, as if part of the heavenly curtain just got turned back. It's not just one odd event anymore. It fits into a much bigger picture described thousands of years ago. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke." The words "wonders in the heavens" feel like the key, placing this right in the middle of those old prophecies. If the skies can show signs, then a shining door up there starts to make sense. Some folks say it's only an optical effect from mist and light, but that doesn't explain the clean, straight edges or how it floats free from the mountains around it. Science can talk about light and refraction, but it can't say why this showed up at just the right moment, right spot, and got filmed so perfectly. A door opening in the sky is too plain and striking to brush off. If that's only a quick glimpse through a gap in the heavens, what happens when that gap gets pulled open wider? 2. The giant mysterious cloud tower. The sky suddenly twisted into a huge cloud tower, standing straight up in the air, like something built in just a few minutes. There was no extreme weather warning, no clear tornado signal, but a tight spinning column of cloud still rose thousands of feet high. It took over the whole horizon and made everyone stop and stare. This showed up in a wide open sky, similar to those swirling clouds recorded in the US and Hong Kong when strong winds make spiral shapes. But this time, the cloud structure didn't just spin, it held a strangely stable form, like a tower with a clear center axis. It didn't spread out right away or break apart. Instead, it stretched for miles, giving the feeling that the sky was being squeezed and twisted around one central point. That cloud column was thick and dense, with layers wrapped tightly together like a giant rope hanging in the sky. The air around it moved in odd directions, birds scattered, and sunlight got sliced into patches. When you look at the pictures, you realize this isn't like a normal cloud drifting by. It feels more like a sign put up on purpose, standing there as a reminder you can't ignore. Luke 21:25 says clearly, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." The phrase signs puts this cloud tower into a bigger warning picture, where nature no longer runs the way we're used to. It becomes a tool showing disorder. When order up high starts to change, trouble down here doesn't feel so strange anymore. Revelation 15:1 records, "I saw in heaven another great and marvelous sign, 7 angels with the 7 last plagues. For with them God's wrath is completed." The words "great and marvelous sign" ring out like a direct warning, stressing that what's appearing in the sky isn't just something to look at. It's a reminder that consequences are getting close. Some people say it's just strong, swirling winds forming a special cloud shape. But that explanation doesn't answer why the cloud tower stayed so perfectly balanced and lasted longer than a normal swirling cloud usually does. If it was only a short-term weather event, that long-lasting stability becomes something hard to overlook. The sight of this towering cloud brings to mind the old story of people building a tower to reach the heavens, a symbol of ambition going beyond limits. When nature itself builds a tower in the sky, it's no longer random chance. It's a reminder of the consequences of pride and growing chaos over time. If this cloud tower is just the beginning, what happens when those structures up high stop standing still and start coming down? 3. A ring of fire twisting in the sky. A blood-red ring twisted and curled across the night sky, flashing for a moment, then coiling up like a living thing struggling in the dark. The whole thing lasted just a few seconds, but it was enough to make your heart pound hard. Have you ever seen the sky tear open and glow like something was just ripped out of the invisible world? It showed up in the thick darkness, similar to those red sprites that people have recorded in Italy and the US after really powerful lightning strikes. Up around 50 miles above the ground, a red, glowing ring formed from a fierce bolt of lightning. But instead of just flashing and disappearing, it twisted like a snake coiling up, moving in strange, uneven ways before fading into nothing. That glowing ring didn't just shine, it actually spun around an invisible center. Its edges looked warped and stretched out like fiery tentacles. The red wasn't even all the way through. It got darker and deeper toward the middle, fading lighter at the edges, making it feel like a ring of blood floating high up in the sky. The dark night around it got stained with this gloomy red, and the whole space felt heavy and hard to breathe in. Joel 2:31 says, "The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes." That picture of the moon turning to blood isn't just a symbol. It's a warning about the sky changing color as a kind of charge sheet against humanity. When the sky changes color like that, it's no longer some harmless thing. It's a sign we've been told about ahead of time. Still, some folks say it's just high-altitude red lightning, a rare plasma reaction in the atmosphere. But the clear twisting and the almost perfect circle shape make that explanation feel pretty weak. A regular lightning bolt doesn't shape itself into a giant ring and then quietly shrink back like it's finishing some secret message. Matthew 24:30 says, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn." Those words, "the sign will appear in the sky," sound like a confirmation that these things showing up in the air aren't random. The mourning mentioned isn't something people just imagine. It's real fear when folks realize they're facing something that was already foretold. That red ring vanished quickly, leaving the sky pitch black like nothing ever happened. But the uneasy feeling didn't go away. It was like a fiery seal stamped onto the night, reminding us that the normal order can break apart in an instant. It wasn't just light. It was a warning ring of blood hanging over humanity's head. The small ring disappeared, but is a bigger one quietly forming somewhere, big enough to cover the whole earth in that final red glow. 4. Mysterious red circle in California. A huge red circle just hung there motionless in the California sky right before the storm rolled in, floating like a mark carved straight into the clouds. No wild lightning, no booming thunder, just a deep red circle appeared and stayed put, challenging the swirling winds. Before the really strong winds kicked up, this glowing ring showed up, similar to things seen before in Louisiana and Kansas, but this time it barely moved at all, shaking. Deep red, like hot coals, with a sharp, clear edge hanging thousands of feet up, making it feel like an invisible hand had just drawn a mysterious sign in the darkening sky. The clouds around it thickened layer by layer, slowly swallowing the outer edges of the circle, but the center kept glowing dimly, refusing to fade away. Everything got hazy. Sunlight filtered through the gray clouds, creating a strange red halo that's hard to explain. When you see something like that, don't you ever wonder why such a perfect shape shows up right when the sky is about to get angry? Revelation 6:12 says, "When the Lamb opened the sixth seal, there was a great earthquake. The sun became black like sackcloth, and the moon became red like blood." The picture of a darkened sun and a blood-red moon sounds just like a description of weird color changes in the sky. That red circle hanging in the storm clouds makes that prophecy feel very real, as if nature is replaying a scene that was written long ago. A lot of folks say it's just sunlight scattering through thick clouds before a storm, a rare optical effect, but nothing supernatural. Still, the almost perfect roundness and the way it stayed in place despite the strong winds make that explanation hard to swallow. When light forms such a clear shape that looks like a symbol, the coincidence starts to feel unsettling. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven." Great signs doesn't mean faint lights or quiet drifting clouds. It points to strong enough signs that make people stop and look. The red circle over California, showing up right before the storm, felt like a warning of bigger changes coming, not just weather, but the fragile order of the world. After a few minutes, the circle faded and disappeared completely into the thick gray clouds, leaving a murky sky and howling winds. The sign may have vanished, but the message still lingers in the minds of those who saw it. The red circle is gone, but when the real storm hits, what will get swept away in the sky's next outburst? 5. The mysterious orange-gold orb, like a copy of the sun. A quiet orange beam appeared in the calm sky. It wasn't loud or flashy, but it made anyone watching stop and stare. On one side, the sun was shining like normal. On the other, a deep orange ball-shaped halo just hung there in the air, sending out sharp white rays like spears cutting through the clouds. Seeing that contrast, you can't help but wonder what might be hiding behind our everyday light. This same kind of thing has been seen before with orange orbs in Arizona and some other U.S. states, where the sky suddenly split into two very clear opposite halves. Amazing! The glowing orange sphere didn't spread its light evenly. Instead, it focused all the energy into those straight white beams shooting downward, making almost perfect geometric lines that stretched for miles across the grayish blue sky. The air around it turned hazy, and the natural light got bent by those strange rays. One half of the sky kept its familiar warm golden color. The other half shifted to bright orange mixed with cold white, as if two different realities were existing side by side. That split wasn't just something you saw. It gave the feeling of an invisible line being drawn between the normal world and something we haven't fully understood yet. Isaiah 13:10 says, "For the stars of heaven and its constellations will not give their light. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will not shine." That prophecy talks about a sudden change in the lights up above, when the usual sources of light no longer do what they always did. The picture of one part of the sky glowing unusually bright while another part dims and seems covered makes those old words feel like an explanation for what's happening right now. Scientists say it's just rare clouds combined with a special angle of the sun creating an unusual halo. But the sharp accuracy of those white rays and the almost perfect round shape of the orange orb make that simple explanation feel a bit weak. When light doesn't scatter but forms clear structures instead, it starts to feel like some kind of message is being sent. Revelation 8:12 says, "The fourth angel sounded his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark." The phrase "a third turned dark" describes light being divided into parts, no longer whole like before. The contrast between the bright orange area and the normal sky reminds you of that division, as if the sky is showing us in pictures what was warned about long ago. The orange beam slowly faded, the white rays pulled back and blended into the sky again, bringing everything back to normal. But the memory of that line between light and shadow stays with you. It reminds us that all this stability might only be temporary. While the sun is still shining, the real question isn't whether darkness will come, it's when it will cover everything. 6. Mysterious light moving wildly across the night sky. In the quiet of the night, a blue column of light suddenly shot straight up into the sky, standing tall like a pillar connecting the earth to the endless beyond. No sound, no flash to announce it, just a cold beam cutting through the darkness, making everything around it feel like time had slowed down or even stopped for a moment. This is similar to the blue jets that have been seen in Norway or Arizona, reaching about 30 miles above thunderstorm clouds. But unlike those that flash and vanish in a second, this green-blue column stayed soft and steady in shape, like a glowing ribbon hanging straight up in the pitch-black sky. The light wasn't harsh or blinding, it was gentle, with real depth. The center was darker and stronger than the edges, giving it a feeling that was both real and somehow otherworldly. It didn't seem to come from any clear spot on the ground, and it didn't spread out like lightning. It just existed there, on its own, in the middle of the air. When you look at something like that, do you ever wonder if the sky is trying to send us a quiet reminder instead of a loud thunderclap? That image brings to mind the spiral anomaly once recorded in Norway, where light swirled out like an invisible gate. Even though this one didn't have a clear spiral, the blue column still felt like it was linking two worlds, as if a straight path had just been drawn, so our eyes could follow it higher and higher. The dark night was no longer just empty blackness, it became the background for a sign that made your heart grow still. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars." The words signs don't just mean big scary events. They also include things that make people stop and think. When a blue column stands quiet in the night, those words open up a different way of seeing. The sky isn't just for looking at, it's also for listening to. Some folks say it's probably just a laser beam or man-made light reflecting off high clouds. But the total stillness around that column, no shaking, no swaying in the wind, makes it feel like it goes beyond ordinary mechanical explanations. A man-made light would have a hard time staying that soft and natural, almost like it was born right out of the sky itself. Revelation 6:13 says, "The stars in the sky fell to the earth, like figs dropping from a fig tree when a strong wind shakes it." That picture of movement between heaven and earth shows a powerful connection between the two realms. This blue column reaching upward feels like the opposite kind of bridge, quietly inviting our gaze to look up and reconnect with the faith that sometimes falls asleep inside us. The column slowly faded, blending back into the darkness as if it had never been there. But the memory of that pillar of light linking earth and sky still lingers. It doesn't force anything, doesn't threaten, it just gently guides our thoughts to the time we have left and where we stand in this huge universe. The light stood still in the night, but where will the path it opened lead when the final darkness really comes down? 7. Strange lightning ball. Shocking in the middle of the storm. A bright ball suddenly hung there in the air. Then a clap of thunder came booming right out from its very center. The light didn't spread out. It rolled up tight into an almost perfect sphere. Anyone who saw it felt scared but couldn't look away. If you were standing right there in that scene, could you really say it was just some normal thing? In the middle of that fierce storm, this showed up much like the ball lightning folks have reported in Alberta and several US states, maybe a few feet across. But instead of just flashing for a second, this glowing ball floated steady, moved slowly like it had a purpose. A white-blue light wrapped around a soft golden core, making it feel alive and hard to explain. The smell of ozone filled the wet air. Strong winds blew, yet the ball barely got pushed off course. Thousands who watched from a distance called it a little sun drifting through the gray sheets of rain. Right when it gave a little shake, thunder exploded, and that sound wasn't just regular noise. It felt like a loud announcement coming straight from the sky. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." The words fire and wonders sound like a warning that bright signs in the sky aren't totally unexpected. When a fireball hangs there in the storm, that old prophecy seems written again in blinding light. Still, some people think differently. They say it's just ball lightning, a rare plasma thing that happens in strong thunderstorms. But the way the ball shape and the thunder happened almost at the same time makes a lot of folks wonder. Nature can explain the shape maybe, but it's hard to explain the awesome feeling that came over people when that sound hit like a wake-up call. Matthew 24:27 says, "For as the lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." That picture of lightning streaking across the whole sky reminds us of speed and power way beyond human control. When the bright ball flared up in the storm and then burst in a flash, that verse rings out like proof that people have been warned about signs from above. The ball shook one last time, then exploded in a white streak that tore through the rain, leaving a boom that echoed down into the ground. After that moment, the sky went black, as if no light had ever been there, but the sense of awe stayed behind. The thunderball vanished, but when a real ball of judgment finally breaks open, what will still be standing in the final wrath? 8. A mysterious white ring hanging in the sky. Right in the middle of lunchtime, while the city was still noisy and the sky seemed perfectly normal, a huge white ring suddenly appeared high overhead. No sound, no shaking, just a soft, glowing circle around the sun, like a gate someone had quietly drawn on the blue background. If you looked up at that exact moment, would you think it was just a random coincidence? That ring of light was really big, covering a wide patch of sky over the city. It looked a lot like the halo phenomena that have shown up in places like Idaho or Tacoma, but this one seemed wider and sharper. The white glow wasn't blinding, it was gentle. The edge was thin, but so perfect it hardly had any breaks at all. It just hung there for hours without fading away fast like thin clouds do. An ordinary day suddenly felt extraordinary as that light spread over the buildings and busy streets. Everything seemed to slow down. Lots of people stopped walking, pulled out their phones to record it, but you could still see the wonder in their eyes. The white ring didn't spin or shake hard. It just stayed there quietly, like a symbol, waiting for someone to explain it. Isaiah 7:11 says, "Ask the Lord your God for a sign, whether from the depths below or from the heights above." That invitation to ask for a sign from the heights above makes this white ring feel like more than just a simple light effect. When a perfect circle shows up right in the middle of the day, those old words become the key that shines light on the symbol hanging overhead. Some folks say it's just an ice halo, sunlight bending through ice crystals high up in the atmosphere. But the unusual size and how long it lasted made many people feel this wasn't something ordinary. When a ring of light covers the whole city sky, the idea of a heavenly gate opening starts creeping into people's thoughts. Revelation 15:1 records, "I saw another great and marvelous sign in heaven." Those words, great and marvelous, seemed to match the size and mysterious beauty of that white ring exactly. It didn't threaten or explode, but it was enough to make people quietly wonder about things beyond the physical world. The light slowly faded as the sun moved. The circle grew dimmer, then blended back into the blue sky like it had never been there. Even so, the feeling of an invisible gate still lingers, like a reminder that the sky isn't just empty space. It might be a place sending signals full of meaning. The white ring may stay in our memories, but when the real gate opens, who will be the one to step across that boundary? 9. The stars moving in a strange, chaotic way across the sky. This time-lapse video of the New Jersey sky unexpectedly shows a bunch of bright orbs sliding through the clouds like living, glowing dots. No engine noise, no smoke trails, just these steady points of light gliding smoothly through the silvery gray night. When you slow it down and watch frame by frame, do you ever get the feeling they're looking right back at you? Across the New Jersey sky, just like the orbs spotted before in Morris County, those bright points move so smoothly along paths that are hard to predict. They don't fly in straight, fixed lines like regular passenger planes, and they don't flash like aviation lights. Instead, each orb keeps an even distance from the others, moving gently as if they're part of a carefully planned dance. Some witnesses, including local officials near the golf course area, say they saw those bright dots with their own eyes. In the footage, they drift through low clouds, appearing and disappearing, with a soft white light tinged a little blue, not too bright, but clear enough to stand out against the dark sky. It feels odd when you realize they're in no hurry at all, almost like they're choosing to stay visible a little longer. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven." The phrase great signs doesn't have to mean loud thunder or raging storms. It can be quiet but persistent hints. When lots of orbs show up together and move in sync, the sight goes beyond random chance and becomes something hard to ignore. With that smooth motion and the way they change direction without any jerkiness, the drone idea starts to feel questionable. Drones usually make noise and change altitude noticeably, but these orbs seem to glide through the air as if wind or drag doesn't affect them at all. Matthew 24:30 says, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn." The picture of a sign appearing in the sky gives those glowing dots a strong, symbolic feel. When the sky turns into a stage for these mysterious movements, that verse rings like a reminder that humanity hasn't been left without warnings. The time-lapse ends as the orbs slowly fade behind thick clouds, leaving the sky empty again like before. Still, their slow, steady rhythm lingers in your mind, like a dance that isn't quite finished. Those orbs pass through the New Jersey sky, but where will their journey take them next on the world map? 10. Mysterious cloud ring, like God drew it right up in the sky. A white shape appeared inside the hazy cloud ring, like a living painting hung in midair, holy and hard to pin down. No thunder, no wild winds, just a perfect round shape with a soft, bright center standing out against the pale blue sky. When your eyes lock on that center, it feels like you're being invited into a place way beyond our everyday world. The sky that day was completely calm, kind of like those smoke rings or halos that show up now and then in special weather conditions. But this cloud ring wasn't just a fuzzy circle. Right in the middle was a clear white shape, like clouds packed tight into a symbol. The edges were soft and gently swirling, while the center glowed brighter, giving it depth, like a door opening to something higher up. That white shape moved slowly, almost drifting with the sky's own breathing, not in a hurry to fade away. Anyone watching got pulled into how it changed bit by bit. The hazy edges would thin out, then get stronger again, making the whole thing feel personal, like every person saw a different message in it. It didn't feel like just watching clouds anymore. It felt like reading a letter written in smoke and light. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." Those words about columns of smoke and wonders suggest the sky can turn into a giant billboard with warning signs carved across it. That cloud ring with its standout white core, in such a quiet scene, felt like a direct picture of words spoken long ago. The way the circle formed so perfectly balanced, with the center so clearly separate, makes the usual explanations not quite fit. When something up in the sky is almost perfectly symmetrical, the question of what it really means starts to grow bigger. Revelation 6:14 says, "The sky receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved from its place." The picture of the sky rolling up like a book gives the feeling of a huge painting slowly closing. That white cloud ring with its hazy center was like the last page turning, where all the earlier signs come together into a final judgment, making it clear that humanity was never short on warnings. Little by little, the white shape in the center faded. The cloud ring broke into thin streaks and blended back into the sky like it had never been there. Still, the whole chain of signs, from red rings, bright pillars, strange orbs, to this white cloud ring, seems to be coming together into one big picture. The cloud ring may have faded, but when the full end times painting is completely clear, will there still be time to get ready for what's coming? Here are 10 signs that have passed right before our eyes, one after another. From strange lights in the sky, mysterious cloud rings, tall columns of light standing straight up, all the way to the white cloud ring as the final stroke that closes out a series of signs we really shouldn't ignore. Each one could stand alone as some natural event, but when you put them side by side, they form a connected picture that leaves your heart feeling uneasy. It's no accident that the Bible mentions unusual signs in the heavens so many times as a wake-up call for all of us. Matthew 24:33 says, "Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door." That verse isn't meant to scare us into panic. It's meant to wake up our hearts. If the signs we've seen so far are just the beginning, then what matters isn't fear, it's getting ready. Not confusion, but coming back to the simple faith we once had. Luke 21:28 says, "When these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near." That promise goes hand in hand with the warning, like two sides of the same truth. These signs aren't just a judgment on a stubborn world. They're also a ray of hope for anyone who turns back, repents, and seeks the Lord at this turning point in history. So if today you feel something stirring inside you, something hard to put into words, don't brush it off. Repent, pray. Ask the Lord to forgive you and guide you, because time isn't as long as we tend to think. No one knows the day or the hour, but every sign is a reminder that the door of grace won't stay open forever. Revelation 3:20 says, "Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person." Maybe these sky signs are just the first gentle knock, and the biggest sign of all is still waiting ahead, clear, powerful, impossible to deny. When that moment comes, will you be ready, or will you still be hesitating between belief and doubt? If this message touches you, leave a simple prayer in the comments below, or just share your honest thoughts right now. Let's build a space of faith together, where every prayer lifts up another heart. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss any of the next messages on this journey. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. I pray the Lord keeps you and your family safe and at peace in every situation, protected and guided by the light of truth. Amen.
You may have
Israel has launched preemptive airstrikes against the Islamic Republic.
We're already substantially ahead of our time projection.
Same time, and so when the Iranians save their missiles and launch all at the same time,
on the hotels, airports, apartments, and other civilian targets of...
Do you realize the conflict between the US and Iran didn't just happen by chance, and the Bible saw this coming a long, long time ago? So, are you curious what the outcome of this conflict might be? And what does it mean in the bigger timeline as humanity keeps moving closer to the end times? In today's video, we're going to talk it through together and look for the full truth. But one thing we can all be sure of: God is right. Everything is under His control, and His power has no limits. So, before we dive in and pull back those curtains of truth, like always, please leave a prayer in the comments below. It just shows that you still put your big trust in Jesus. And now, so you don't have to wait any longer, let's jump right in with the first event in the timeline: current world situation. From the latest breaking news coming in from countries all over, it's March 2026. The Middle East is on fire. Heavy airstrikes are tearing through the sky over Iran as the United States and Israel launch a major military operation starting February 28. More than 2,000 targets have been reported destroyed, from key nuclear facilities to important command centers. In the middle of all this chaos, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has been confirmed killed. The news spread like a political earthquake, shaking the whole region. Tehran is in smoke. Tel Aviv's air raid sirens are blaring U.S. bases in Kuwait, UAE, and Qatar are taking retaliatory missile hits. Iran is hitting back hard, launching waves of ballistic missiles through the night sky, forcing Israel's Iron Dome system to work at full capacity. Hezbollah from Lebanon has joined in, opening another front north of Israel. Hundreds of people have died, including 3 American soldiers in Kuwait. President Donald Trump says the operation might last 4 or 5 weeks, but analysts are warning, if the spiral keeps escalating, that timeline could just be the beginning. Financial markets are rocking. Oil prices have shot way up. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting. Russia and China issued strong warnings. The whole world is holding its breath over the risk of a direct clash between major powers. The fear of nuclear weapons isn't some far-off idea anymore. It's a real question right now. Is this the spark for a much bigger war? Is the Middle East sliding into a chain reaction that can't be stopped? Amid the smoke, fire, and non-stop news reports, a bigger question comes up. Is this just geopolitics, or is something deeper going on? The Bible mentions Persia, the old name for Iran, as a player in the final events. Ezekiel 38:5 says, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, a coalition against Israel in the last days. Today, Iran backs Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and keeps a strong strategic tie with Russia. Those pieces are fitting together in a way that surprises a lot of people with how accurate it seems. Is this just a coincidence of history, or part of a much larger picture starting to show? As cities like Tehran, Dubai, and Tel Aviv shake from explosions, and the world talks about World War III, are we seeing the opening pages of a decisive time? Time feels like it's speeding up, and events once thought impossible are happening right in front of us. The standoff between the US, Israel, and Iran isn't just another international headline. It's a flashpoint that could reshape the global order. And if those prophecies aren't random, this goes way beyond politics and military action. Where do we stand in all this flow? To find the answer, we need to go back to the events involving Persia, which is today's Iran, that the Bible mentioned thousands of years ago. Persia, in ancient prophecy, amid the flood of news reports and non-stop air raid sirens, have you ever wondered, has the clock really started counting down? And is humanity getting closer to what the Lord warned about? As smoke and fire cover the Middle East and world powers move their fleets into place, faith is no longer some distant idea. It becomes the only solid ground in the middle of this historic earthquake. We're not just talking geopolitics here. This is an invitation to look deeper into words written more than 2,000 years ago. Let's go back about 2,600 years. In Ezekiel 38:1-6, the Bible says, "Son of man, set your face against Gog, of the land of Magog. Persia, Cush, and Put are with them." Persia is today's Iran. The prophecy describes a powerful alliance from the north and east coming against Israel like a storm. Ezekiel 38:9 goes on, "You will advance like a storm. You will be like a cloud covering the land, you and all your troops." End quote. That picture isn't just poetry. It's the language of an overwhelming, covering, crushing attack. Look at today. Iran isn't acting alone. Hezbollah in Lebanon has opened a front on Israel's northern border, and on those who live in safety on the coastlands. In prophetic language, fire usually means judgment. Today, with long-range missiles and warheads that can cause massive destruction, that image hits harder than ever. Tensions over nuclear programs, defense systems being tested to the limit, and the risk of things spreading worldwide make many people feel these prophetic words aren't so strange anymore. Moving to Daniel 8:3-4, the Bible describes a vision. There before the river stood a ram with 2 horns. It charged toward the west and the north and the south, and no animal could stand against it. Later, Daniel 8:20 explains, "The 2-horned ram that you saw represents the kings of Media and Persia." Persia, that's Iran today, was once a mighty power, and in the vision, it gets defeated by another force. While the first fulfillment was with ancient Greece, many Bible teachers believe the prophecy can also point to later times. Right now, Iran isn't just one country standing alone. It's at the center of alliances and proxy forces. Its support for armed groups against Israel, its strategic ties with northern powers, and tough talk about advanced weapons all add up to a very tense picture. As missiles fly overhead and defense systems work overtime to intercept them, the images of fire and the bow dropping from the hand in Ezekiel feel very real and unsettling. What's striking is that these words were written 600 to 500 years before Christ, in a completely different world. Yet the alliance structure, the direction of attack, and the supernatural intervention are described in such detail that it makes people stop and think. Details like fire sent down, bow falling from the hand, or alliance from the north aren't just symbols. They carry a real warning about a high point in human history. From a prophetic view, what's happening now may not be the final event, but it could be the setup. As nations build up arms, threats are made, and alliances take clearer shape, the Bible shows the climax isn't in human hands. God is the one who declares the end from the beginning, and His intervention isn't about showing off military might. It's about revealing His supreme authority. So the warning isn't meant to scare us into panic. It's to underline that what's going on isn't outside the Creator's knowledge. If these prophetic details are starting to match reality, it strengthens our trust that His word is reliable. In the middle of nuclear tensions and the danger of wider conflict, putting faith in God isn't escaping reality. It's spiritual preparation for whatever might come. Looking at today's events, you can almost feel the fast heartbeat of the times. But amid the noise of war and dark predictions, one truth stands firm. God doesn't make mistakes in His judgments. And if the final chapters of history are beginning to unfold, the question isn't just what happens next, it's whether we're ready for that chapter. Because the signs ahead could be even clearer and stronger than what we see today. When the bow of Elam gets broken, history doesn't just repeat itself. It rings like an alarm bell for our own time. What's happening isn't simply another military fight. It's a shock wave that could shake the very foundations of world security, and you're living right in the middle of it. As the news keeps showing airstrikes, nuclear sites getting hit, and chaos spreading everywhere, those old prophecies suddenly feel a lot more real and worth thinking about. Back around 600 BC, the prophet Jeremiah delivered a shocking message about Elam, that ancient land in what's today Iran. In Jeremiah 49:34-35, the Bible says, "This is the word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet about Elam. I will break the bow of Elam, the mainstay of their might." The bow stands for military power, the ability to attack or defend. When that bow is snapped, it pictures a nation stripped of its strength, weakened right at the heart of its power. Looking at what's going on in the world today, strategic nuclear facilities at Natanz and Tehran have been attacked, defense systems broken through, key military targets destroyed. This isn't just shifting the balance of power in the region, it's sparking real panic among ordinary people. Jeremiah 49:36 goes on, "I will bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven against Elam and scatter them to all those winds." Those four winds bring up images of scattering, total disorder, mass exodus, exactly what we're seeing as folks leave their homes, hospitals get overwhelmed, and cities sink into unrest. But the prophecy doesn't end with destruction. In Jeremiah 49:38-39, the Bible says, "I will set my throne in Elam, yet in days to come I will restore the fortunes of Elam." Even in the middle of ruin, there's a glimpse of hope. The breaking isn't the final end, it's part of a bigger plan moving forward. That opens up another side. Even in crisis, there's still a promise of recovery, still a chance for spiritual renewal. People today react in all kinds of ways. Some see it purely as the result of bad military and political choices. Others, especially believers, see signs of prophecy coming true. Debates heat up on social media, in churches, among Bible scholars. Some call it just historical coincidence. Others believe every detail fits into a plan laid out long ago. The difference isn't only about opinions, it's about how people see the world. From your point of view, what do those similarities between the prophecy and today's events really mean? What stands out is that Jeremiah wrote this before mighty empires like Babylon even finished conquering the area. Elam fell, then Persia rose, and history kept turning. The fulfillment can have layers, near, far, and long-term. That's what makes the prophecy both complicated and powerful. It's not a one-line news report. It's a multi-layered picture where past and present meet. No matter where people stand, one thing can't be denied. The upheavals in Iran right now have shaken the whole regional order. When military strength gets challenged, when power structures wobble, when everyday folks suffer heavy losses, the picture of a broken bow comes alive like never before. And if the prophecy also includes restoration, it means history isn't finished yet. The next chapter is still being written. So the warning isn't just about destruction, it's also about recognizing the times we're in. If words written over 2,500 years ago can still echo so clearly today, it reminds us that ultimate control isn't in human hands. Collapse can open the door to renewal, and even in the rubble there can be a holy purpose. The story of Elam didn't end in ashes, and neither has the world today reached its final page, but the warning signs are ringing louder than ever. Signs of the last days, according to Matthew 24. The final fuse is being lit. As missiles streak across the Middle East sky and nuclear talk fills the international news, an old chapter from the Bible suddenly rings out like a warning bell. In this tense atmosphere, we're not just watching a war, we're getting a serious reminder about the end times. In Ezekiel 39:1-3, the Bible says, "O Gog, I am against you. I will knock the bow out of your left hand and make your arrows drop from your right hand." End quote. The picture of the bow falling from the hand isn't just about losing a battle. It's about having power taken away right when it seems strongest. If Ezekiel 38 describes a rising alliance, then chapter 39 is God's announcement of a sudden collapse. He brings about himself. Then Ezekiel 39:6 says, I will send fire on Magog and on those who live in safety on the coastlands. In prophetic language, fire usually means judgment. Today, with long-range missiles and warheads that can cause massive destruction, that image hits harder than ever. Tensions over nuclear programs, defense systems being tested to the limit, and the risk of things spreading worldwide make many people feel these prophetic words aren't so strange anymore. Moving to Daniel 8:3-4, the Bible describes a vision. There before the river stood a ram with 2 horns. It charged toward the west and the north and the south, and no animal could stand against it. Later, Daniel 8:20 explains, the 2-horned ram that you saw represents the kings of Media and Persia. Persia, that's Iran today, was once a mighty power, and in the vision, it gets defeated by another force. While the first fulfillment was with ancient Greece, many Bible teachers believe the prophecy can also point to later times. Right now, Iran isn't just one country standing alone. It's at the center of alliances and proxy forces. Its support for armed groups against Israel, its strategic ties with northern powers, and tough talk about advanced weapons all add up to a very tense picture. As missiles fly overhead and defense systems work overtime to intercept them, the images of fire and the bow dropping from the hand in Ezekiel feel very real and unsettling. What's striking is that these words were written 600 to 500 years before Christ, in a completely different world. Yet the alliance structure, the direction of attack, and the supernatural intervention are described in such detail that it makes people stop and think. Details like fire sent down, bow falling from the hand, or alliance from the north aren't just symbols. They carry a real warning about a high point in human history. From a prophetic view, what's happening now may not be the final event, but it could be the setup. As nations build up arms, threats are made, and alliances take clearer shape, the Bible shows the climax isn't in human hands. God is the one who declares the end from the beginning, and his intervention isn't about showing off military might. It's about revealing his supreme authority. So the warning isn't meant to scare us into panic. It's to underline that what's going on isn't outside the Creator's knowledge. If these prophetic details are starting to match reality, it strengthens our trust that his word is reliable. In the middle of nuclear tensions and the danger of wider conflict, putting faith in God isn't escaping reality. It's spiritual preparation for whatever might come. Looking at today's events, you can almost feel the fast heartbeat of the times. But amid the noise of war and dark predictions, one truth stands firm. God doesn't make mistakes in his judgments. And if the final chapters of history are beginning to unfold, the question isn't just what happens next, it's whether we're ready for that chapter. Because the signs ahead could be even clearer and stronger than what we see today. New Testament and the return of Jesus Christ. Could it be that the final signs are starting to appear? Prophecies from 2,000 years ago are coming alive again, right in the middle of war reports and big geopolitical shifts. The world isn't just hearing bombs drop, it's also hearing the quiet voice of the Bible echoing through our time. Have you ever wondered if we're stepping right into the very scene those apostles described? In Revelation 16:12 it says, "The sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east." The picture of the Euphrates River, the natural boundary for so many ancient empires, drying up isn't just a symbol. It's a signal clearing the path for a worldwide gathering. When you look at what's happening in the Middle East, especially Iran's growing bold role and its allies, a lot of folks are asking, could the kings from the east no longer be some far-off figure of speech? Almost 2,000 years ago, in Matthew 24:6-7, the Lord said, You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Those words were written when the Roman Empire was still in charge, when modern weapons didn't exist, when the idea of a global war hadn't even been thought of. Yet today, conflicts are spreading. Alliances form and break apart. Nuclear tensions keep rising, and it feels like the whole world is caught in a spiral with no way out. Back to Revelation 16:16, the Bible says, "The three evil spirits gathered the kings together at the place that in Hebrew is called Armageddon." Armageddon isn't just a religious idea. It's the meeting point of power, ambition, and judgment. As countries in the East build up their military and strategic reach, as oil routes and trade paths become hot spots of conflict, the prophetic picture seems to be coming into sharper focus than ever. In the same Olivet discourse, Matthew 24-27 says, "As lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." The Lord's return won't be quiet or hidden. It'll be open, brilliant, crossing every border. Many Christians who study this are convinced and excited that today's global upheavals aren't random. They're preparation for that glorious moment. The New Testament doesn't just talk about war. It also speaks of supernatural intervention. Revelation 19:11 says, "I saw heaven standing open, and there before me was a white horse, whose rider is called Faithful and True." This isn't some political symbol. It's the powerful appearance of Jesus Christ, returning in glory to bring justice. While the world shakes from human power, the Bible declares that ultimate authority belongs to Him. Signs of natural disasters, diseases, moral breakdowns, and wars are listed one after another in Matthew 24:8. All these are the beginning of birth pains. That phrase, beginning of birth pains, brings to mind labor pains, signaling that the intense climax is drawing near. When superpowers move thousands of troops, when missiles can travel hundreds of miles in minutes, people realize we're living in a time when one wrong decision could change history forever. But even with all the shaking, the promise still stands firm. In Acts 1:11 it says, "Men of Galilee, why do you stand here, looking into the sky? This same Jesus will come back in the same way you have seen Him go into heaven." That's a clear confirmation of a visible return, not a metaphor. That event doesn't depend on political resolutions or peace deals. It depends on the plan set from the beginning of creation. If prophecies written thousands of years ago are now coming true one by one in our modern world, it raises a question we can't avoid. Where exactly are we in God's timeline? As the East starts to move, as military alliances build around the Middle East, as the word Armageddon shows up more and more in the news, could the prophetic clock be ticking down its final beats? The return of Jesus Christ isn't a legend or myth. It's a powerful promise confirmed in the Gospels and the letters of the apostles. From warnings about wars to the image of Him coming on the clouds, every detail fits together consistently across centuries. That shows the Bible isn't a random collection. It's a single plan running through all of human history. And if He was right about the early signs, would He be wrong about the final ones? When the thunder of war mixes with calls to repentance, when the world searches desperately for peace, maybe the most important question isn't, when will He return, but are we ready? The next part will open up the picture of judgment and hope, the two sides of the same eternal promise. Amid all the wild ups and downs in the world, Israel stands there like a prophetic clock that the Bible placed right in the middle of history. Every shake-up around Jerusalem, every time tension explodes in the Middle East, it feels like that clock's hand moves another tick forward. If Israel is the center of God's redemption plan, and Iran is now directly confronting it, what does that tell us about right now? Are we just watching the news? Or are we actually seeing a key marker on God's sacred timeline? In Matthew 24-34, the Lord says, "Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place." Those words ring out like a firm stamp amid all the guesses and opinions. When the nation of Israel was reborn and became the focus of worldwide conflict, many believe that the generation seeing that rebirth will also see the final events. Israel isn't just a country. Israel is the heart of God's promises, the place where He put His name and said He would protect it. The current war, with big powers involved directly or indirectly, could be the shift that leads into the Great Tribulation the Bible talks about. From the prophecies in the Old Testament books to the visions of Armageddon, everything centers on one point: Jerusalem. And if all the geopolitical roads are heading back to that spot, doesn't it mean we're getting very close to the climax of history? The question isn't whether the prophecies will come true anymore. It's when and where exactly we stand in that picture. The Bible wasn't given to scare us, but to warn us and call us. Psalm 122:6 says, "Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you be secure." That call has never gone out of date. When Israel faces pressure from every side, when threats come across the borders, the prayers of believers become hugely important. Prayer isn't a weak thing, it's joining in God's plan. If the Lord told us everything ahead of time so we wouldn't be caught off guard, then the right response isn't panic, it's trust. He revealed it early so people could turn back, get their hearts ready, and put their faith in the one who controls history. As this prophetic clock moves faster than ever, maybe the most important thing isn't digging into one more news report. It's asking ourselves, am I ready in my heart? And as you listen to these spiritual reminders from Him, leave a prayer in the comments below or share what you're thinking about what's happening. Let's pray together for peace in Jerusalem, for Israel, and for the world in these shaking times. If these messages mean something to you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any wake-up calls in this special season. Thank you for walking with us. May the Lord give His peace to you and your family, protect you, and guide you in every situation. Amen.
I don't know what in the holy funnel is going on in front of me, but
¿Qué es eso? Si se supone que ya está el sol.
Is the sky sending humanity its final warning? A door of light appeared in the middle of the sky. A tightly twisted tower of clouds reaching thousands of feet high. A red ring hanging straight up in the night. A still halo of light right before a big storm. Orange beams shooting straight through the clouds. It all happened so fast, one after another, with no warning. Then, a green pillar of light rose up in the dark night. A floating fireball exploded with a boom. A huge, white ring covered the city. Bright spots streaked across the New Jersey sky. A white shape hidden inside a ring of smoky clouds. History has recorded big light rings in Italy and glowing orbs in the US. But this time, the events came one right after another, like a clear message. Do you believe these are warnings and that our time is running short? If your answer is yes, please leave a prayer in the comments to show your faith before we go into each sign in detail. Amen. And now, so you don't have to wait long, we'll get started right away with 1. The sky gate opens right in front of humanity. A glowing window hangs motionless in the sky, like someone sliced a straight line through space. Up on a high mountain in the US, a hiker raises his camera, and that moment gets caught on video before we even figure out what we're looking at. It's not clouds, not an airplane, not a sun reflection. It's a clear, sharp opening right there in the open air. That perfect circle appears about 300 feet above the ground, sparkling like a pane of glass showing another world. Its edges tremble a little, not because of wind or weather. The air around it feels stretched, as if an invisible curtain just got parted. The whole thing lasts only a few seconds, but long enough for the camera to record it and clear enough to rule out a simple trick of the eye. This reminds a lot of folks about the Brock inspector seen on mountains in New Hampshire, where a person's shadow gets a bright ring from fog and sunlight. But this is different. No shadow of a person, no rainbow halo, just a door frame, standing alone in the middle of the sky. Some people link it to physics ideas about extra dimensions, that the universe might have more than our usual 3, maybe up to 11, according to string theory. Revelation 6:14 says, "The sky vanished like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved from its place." The image of the sky rolling up like a book makes many think right away of that bright frame hanging there, as if part of the heavenly curtain just got turned back. It's not just one odd event anymore. It fits into a much bigger picture described thousands of years ago. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke." The words "wonders in the heavens" feel like the key, placing this right in the middle of those old prophecies. If the skies can show signs, then a shining door up there starts to make sense. Some folks say it's only an optical effect from mist and light, but that doesn't explain the clean, straight edges or how it floats free from the mountains around it. Science can talk about light and refraction, but it can't say why this showed up at just the right moment, right spot, and got filmed so perfectly. A door opening in the sky is too plain and striking to brush off. If that's only a quick glimpse through a gap in the heavens, what happens when that gap gets pulled open wider? 2. The giant mysterious cloud tower. The sky suddenly twisted into a huge cloud tower, standing straight up in the air, like something built in just a few minutes. There was no extreme weather warning, no clear tornado signal, but a tight spinning column of cloud still rose thousands of feet high. It took over the whole horizon and made everyone stop and stare. This showed up in a wide open sky, similar to those swirling clouds recorded in the US and Hong Kong when strong winds make spiral shapes. But this time, the cloud structure didn't just spin, it held a strangely stable form, like a tower with a clear center axis. It didn't spread out right away or break apart. Instead, it stretched for miles, giving the feeling that the sky was being squeezed and twisted around one central point. That cloud column was thick and dense, with layers wrapped tightly together like a giant rope hanging in the sky. The air around it moved in odd directions, birds scattered, and sunlight got sliced into patches. When you look at the pictures, you realize this isn't like a normal cloud drifting by. It feels more like a sign put up on purpose, standing there as a reminder you can't ignore. Luke 21:25 says clearly, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." The phrase "signs" puts this cloud tower into a bigger warning picture, where nature no longer runs the way we're used to. It becomes a tool showing disorder. When order up high starts to change, trouble down here doesn't feel so strange anymore. Revelation 15:1 records, "I saw in heaven another great and marvelous sign, 7 angels with the 7 last plagues. For with them God's wrath is completed." The words "great and marvelous sign" ring out like a direct warning, stressing that what's appearing in the sky isn't just something to look at. It's a reminder that consequences are getting close. Some people say it's just strong, swirling winds, forming a special cloud shape. But that explanation doesn't answer why the cloud tower stayed so perfectly balanced and lasted longer than a normal swirling cloud usually does. If it was only a short-term weather event, that long-lasting stability becomes something hard to overlook. The sight of this towering cloud brings to mind the old story of people building a tower to reach the heavens, a symbol of ambition going beyond limits. When nature itself builds a tower in the sky, it's no longer random chance. It's a reminder of the consequences of pride and growing chaos over time. If this cloud tower is just the beginning, what happens when those structures up high stop standing still and start coming down. 3. A ring of fire twisting in the sky. A blood-red ring twisted and curled across the night sky, flashing for a moment, then coiling up like a living thing struggling in the dark. The whole thing lasted just a few seconds, but it was enough to make your heart pound hard. Have you ever seen the sky tear open and glow like something was just ripped out of the invisible world? It showed up in the thick darkness, similar to those red sprites that people have recorded in Italy and the US after really powerful lightning strikes. Up around 50 miles above the ground, a red, glowing ring formed from a fierce bolt of lightning. But instead of just flashing and disappearing, it twisted like a snake coiling up, moving in strange, uneven ways before fading into nothing. That glowing ring didn't just shine, it actually spun around an invisible center. Its edges looked warped and stretched out like fiery tentacles. The red wasn't even all the way through. It got darker and deeper toward the middle, fading lighter at the edges, making it feel like a ring of blood floating high up in the sky. The dark night around it got stained with this gloomy red, and the whole space felt heavy and hard to breathe in. Joel 2:31 says, "The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes." That picture of the moon turning to blood isn't just a symbol. It's a warning about the sky changing color as a kind of charge sheet against humanity. When the sky changes color like that, it's no longer some harmless thing. It's a sign we've been told about ahead of time. Still, some folks say it's just high-altitude red lightning, a rare plasma reaction in the atmosphere. But the clear twisting and the almost perfect circle shape make that explanation feel pretty weak. A regular lightning bolt doesn't shape itself into a giant ring and then quietly shrink back like it's finishing some secret message. Matthew 24:30 says, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn." Those words, "the sign will appear in the sky," sound like a confirmation that these things showing up in the air aren't random. The mourning mentioned isn't something people just imagine. It's real fear when folks realize they're facing something that was already foretold. That red ring vanished quickly, leaving the sky pitch black, like nothing ever happened. But the uneasy feeling didn't go away. It was like a fiery seal stamped onto the night, reminding us that the normal order can break apart in an instant. It wasn't just light, it was a warning ring of blood hanging over humanity's head. The small ring disappeared, but is a bigger one quietly forming somewhere, big enough to cover the whole earth in that final red glow. 4. Mysterious red circle in California. A huge red circle just hung there motionless in the California sky right before the storm rolled in, floating like a mark carved straight into the clouds. No wild lightning, no booming thunder, just a deep red circle appeared and stayed put, challenging the swirling winds. Before the really strong winds kicked up, this glowing ring showed up, similar to things seen before in Louisiana and Kansas, but this time it barely moved at all, shaking. Deep red, like hot coals, with a sharp, clear edge hanging thousands of feet up, making it feel like an invisible hand had just drawn a mysterious sign in the darkening sky. The clouds around it thickened layer by layer, slowly swallowing the outer edges of the circle, but the center kept glowing dimly, refusing to fade away. Everything got hazy. Sunlight filtered through the gray clouds, creating a strange red halo that's hard to explain. When you see something like that, don't you ever wonder why such a perfect shape shows up right when the sky is about to get angry? Revelation 6:12 says, "When the Lamb opened the sixth seal, there was a great earthquake. The sun became black like sackcloth, and the moon became red like blood." The picture of a darkened sun and a blood-red moon sounds just like a description of weird color changes in the sky. That red circle hanging in the storm clouds makes that prophecy feel very real, as if nature is replaying a scene that was written long ago. A lot of folks say it's just sunlight scattering through thick clouds before a storm, a rare optical effect, but nothing supernatural. Still, the almost perfect roundness and the way it stayed in place despite the strong winds make that explanation hard to swallow. When light forms such a clear shape that looks like a symbol, the coincidence starts to feel unsettling. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven." Great signs doesn't mean faint lights or quiet drifting clouds. It points to strong enough signs that make people stop and look. What would happen if the sky above us stopped being quiet and started sending out urgent signals? If those familiar clouds suddenly twisted, tore open, burst into flames, and split wide like an invisible door, is that just a coincidence or a warning? Is time moving faster than we think? All over the world, white streaks are ripping through the sky, giant faces forming in the clouds. Green-white spirals exploding across the night sky, double circular rainbows closing like fateful seals. Perfect holes punched deep into cloud layers, glowing green orbs floating in the dark, gates of light hanging silently over the desert, swirling beams of light curling up, rays opening paths across the ocean, and a transparent shape drifting by like a figure from another world. All of it showing up, one after another, without warning. What are we actually seeing? Is this just random weather or signs that a certain time is coming to an end? Pay attention to each event, each detail. There might be an urgent message in them, just for us. And if you still believe, leave a prayer in the comments below as a way to say your faith is still alive through all these changes. Amen. Now, so you don't have to wait long, let's get started right away with 1. Perfect lines across the sky, like drawn by the hand of God. The blue sky suddenly gets sliced right across by sharp white lines, straight as an invisible knife cutting through the air. Not some thin cloud that fades away quick, but long streaks stretching miles and miles from one horizon to the other, just hanging there in a strange way. In that moment, we can only stand still and look up, feeling clear as day that something doesn't feel familiar anymore. At first, they're just thin white threads, way up around 30,000 feet. But in a few minutes, they spread out, branch off, cross each other, and slowly weave into a huge checkerboard pattern covering hundreds of square miles. High-altitude winds blowing up to 90 miles an hour bend the lines into waves and spirals, making a moving picture full of mystery. Some streaks fade when the air warms up, but plenty of others stick around for hours, like a steady hand is holding them in place up there. This happens a lot over big cities in America and Europe, where commercial jets fly back and forth from early morning till late afternoon. Lots of folks call them contrails, condensed water vapor from jet engines, and science says high humidity lets them last longer. But when those white lines cross into almost perfect grids, the random feeling gives way to some kind of order that's hard to explain, like the sky is being marked on purpose. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great signs from heaven." Those words ring out quietly, planting in our minds the idea that signs up high aren't strange at all in the history of faith. As the white bands get thicker, blocking the sunlight and turning the air cold and hazy, the memory of those signs from heaven doesn't feel like it's just stuck in the pages of a book anymore. Matthew 24-29 warns further, "The sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken." Those crisscrossing lines aren't the shaking of the whole universe yet, but they bring to mind a sky being touched and stirred in a way that makes people's hearts uneasy. When light filters through that hazy grid, everything below looks gloomier than usual, as if nature itself is breathing differently. Still, some people believe it's all just a normal atmospheric thing, the natural result of modern aviation. That argument makes sense, but it doesn't wipe away the feeling that these lines showing up more and more often are telling a different story. When those cold, straight lines cover the whole sky on the same morning, the thought of a reminder from above suddenly gets hard to push away. If this is really just jet engines and water vapor, why do they shake us up so much inside? And if they are a sign, then these are only the first strokes on a much bigger picture. The sky has just been marked, and maybe those white lines aren't the end at all. Maybe they're the beginning of something that's slowly taking shape. 2. The mysterious giant face in the clouds. Against a silvery gray sky, a huge face suddenly formed in the clouds, so clear you could see the eyes, nose, and lips for just a few quick seconds. It wasn't a flash of light or a rainbow. It was a real-looking face hanging there in the sky, as if watching everything down below. This was spotted over the wide-open fields in the American Midwest, where thick cirrus clouds often build up when ocean winds blow deep inland. In the quiet countryside, the sky turned into one giant screen. Then, from those stacked clouds, a three-dimensional shape appeared, hundreds of feet long, making it feel like something was looking down on the endless plains. The cloudy eyes were deep and dark, with shadows in the sockets giving the gaze a serious look. A high nose came from a thick band of cloud, and the mouth seemed slightly open, like it was whispering something you couldn't quite hear. A gentle breeze slowly changed the face, from calm and quiet to sharp and cold, then soft again in just a few short minutes, leaving us with a feeling that's hard to name. Still, some people say it's just pareidolia, our brains seeing familiar shapes in random cloud patterns. Online, folks quickly split into two sides. One calls it a trick of the eyes and weather, while the other thinks the match is too perfect to be pure chance. Skeptics break down the light and angles, while believers quietly share the pictures with prayers. Each side holds their ground without backing down. Revelation 1-7 says, "Behold, he comes with the clouds, and every eye will see him." Those words don't describe some vague idea. They paint a clear picture of a presence in the clouds. When that giant face appeared and slowly faded, a lot of people couldn't help thinking of the old warning about the one watching over human history. Luke 21:25 also reminds us, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars." If signs up in the sky were talked about thousands of years ago, then a face forming in the clouds isn't just a light trick anymore. It becomes a reminder that the sky might hold deeper meaning than we usually think. Science will probably keep explaining it, and the photos will slide down the newsfeed. But that feeling of being watched by an unseen gaze doesn't go away easily. If it's only clouds, why does it stir up such a mix of awe and hope in so many hearts? Maybe what's important isn't proving right or wrong, but the quiet awakening inside each of us when we look up. And if one day that face stops being hazy and becomes clearer than ever, will we be ready for that gaze? 3. A strange blue-white spiral in the European sky. A huge blue-white spiral suddenly spun across the night sky over Europe, glowing bright like a gate opening in the air. It made thousands of people rush outside in a panic to take pictures. What would you do if you looked up and saw the whole sky moving in a perfect spiral like that? It started as a small, bright point, then grew into an almost perfect circle. People guessed it was miles across, with electric blue mixed with sparkling white, like it was lit from the inside. It turned slowly for a few minutes, pulling thin streaks of light like mist behind it. The glow reflected off low clouds and covered big cities from the UK to Poland, Sweden, and Germany in a dreamlike light. Seeing it wasn't just interesting, it gave a deep, uneasy feeling, like the normal order of the sky had been torn open. But what really gave people chills wasn't just the spiral shape. It showed up over crowded areas near country borders during a time when the world feels so unsettled, and then it vanished fast, like it was never there. No big boom, no pieces falling down, just shaky videos and tons of questions flooding social media. Scientists quickly explained it. It was probably frozen rocket fuel from a launch. Lots of folks pointed to SpaceX flights, where the upper stage dumps fuel and spins, creating these near-perfect spirals that catch sunlight. Physics says the light, pressure, and spinning can combine to make something this amazing. Still, not every detail lines up easily. Why did the spiral stay so perfectly shaped for so long, even with high winds always changing? Why was the electric blue so strong and unusual compared to other launches? And why did witnesses in different countries all describe the same feeling, like a gate opening, instead of just calling it a technical light streak? Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." A twisting column of smoke in the night sky, glowing like cold fire, makes many believers think of that old prophecy, now set against our age of tech and rockets reaching into space. Matthew 24-30 says, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven." If these signs up high aren't just physical events, but reminders of a covenant between heaven and earth, then that blue-white spiral might hint that history isn't wandering aimlessly. It's heading toward a set meeting point. Science will probably keep refining the explanation, and more launches will bring similar glowing rings. When the sky starts showing things that leave people stunned and wondering about their own future, it's not only a physics story, it's about getting ready. If that spiral was a wonder reminding us time is short, the real question isn't where it came from, but where we stand in our own covenant. And if one night that twist doesn't close up but opens wider, where do you think it would lead? To heaven or to hell? 4. Two perfect full circles of light, like God's halo over Oregon. Not just one, but two perfect full circle rainbows showed up at the same time, one on top of the other, right in the Oregon sky, like a doorway of light opening straight into heaven. That moment wasn't just pretty. It made people go quiet because the air felt so holy. Down in southern Oregon, near thick forests and the mist rising off the Columbia River, strong sunlight cut through thick layers of moisture and created something really rare. The first rainbow circle closed up into a complete round shape, about a mile across, with all 7 colors clear and bright like someone painted them. Right below it, a second circle showed up, like a mirror image, thicker, sharper, and it stayed there for hours without fading. The light danced and sparkled across every color band, making the sky look like the dome of a giant cathedral. Folks pulled their cars over, stepped out of their houses, and just stared up in wonder. Do you think it's only light bending through water drops? Or maybe a reminder coming down from somewhere higher than we usually think? Ezekiel 1:28 says, "Like the appearance of a rainbow in the clouds on a rainy day, so was the appearance of the brightness all around." That picture isn't just about the colors. It's about God's glory being right there, covering everything. When those 2 bright circles wrapped around the Oregon sky, a lot of believers quietly got down on their knees to pray. To them, it wasn't just science. It was a sign of His glory showing up. People's reactions split fast into 2 clear sides. Folks without faith felt worried, even scared, saying it looked too perfect to be random. They talked about climate change, weird weather patterns, and things going wrong in nature. But believers stayed calm because to them, these kinds of signs have been foretold, and they show up not to scare us, but to wake us up. Revelation 4:3 says, "And there was a rainbow around the throne." If one rainbow was once the sign of God's promise after the flood, then 2 perfect circles could feel like an even stronger message. It's not just a single promise anymore. It might be a quiet warning that the sky could roll up like a scroll when the time comes. Science says this was probably a halo from ice crystals high up in the air, bending and reflecting light at just the right angle. That's true on the physics side, But the fact that two full clear circles lined up so perfectly and lasted so long still makes a lot of people wonder. Why show something this powerful right when so many hearts feel shaken? If a rainbow used to mean mercy, then seeing two could be a call to wake up, not to spread fear, but to stir up faith that's fallen asleep. And as those two circles of light slowly faded against the Oregon sky, the real question isn't about the phenomenon, it's about how we respond. Were those two rainbows a reminder of the promise of salvation, or a signal that a new chapter is starting? When the sky can turn into a living message, are we ready to read what it says to us? 5. Perfect round holes in the clouds, strange and almost perfect. Right in the middle of what looks like a calm sky, a huge round hole suddenly appears in the clouds. The edges are sharp and white, like someone punched right through the sky. No explosion, no lightning, just a darker, empty space showing through underneath. It makes you wonder, what's really going on up there above us? People have spotted this from California all the way to Florida. It usually happens near big airports, places where the sky already has lots of plane trails. These holes can be hundreds of feet across. The cloud edges look thick and bright, while thin streaks of cloud, kind of like virga, fall from the center and disappear before they hit the ground. It doesn't pop up and vanish in a second. Instead, it slowly grows, staying almost perfectly round, so round that it feels like the sky is being stretched open from the inside. Old video clips from different states show the same pattern happening again and again over the years. It doesn't feel like a one-time thing. Those high-up circles look like doors opening and then closing, revealing some vague emptiness behind the thick clouds. When you stare right into the center of one of those holes, have you ever felt like something was looking straight back at you? Scientists say this is called a fall streak hole. It happens when a plane flies through a very cold cloud layer and suddenly triggers ice crystals to form and drop, leaving a round gap behind. From a weather science view, changes in pressure and temperature can create those unusually sharp cloud edges. The explanation makes sense, especially since so many of these show up near airports. Still, a few things don't quite add up. Not every hole lines up with a known flight path, and some appear in places with no recorded planes right before. The almost perfect round shape and the even way they spread sometimes go beyond what normal weather models predict. How can the same basic process keep making structures this eerily flawless? Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars." When strange gaps like this open up in the sky, a lot of folks don't just think science. They think about those old prophecies of signs in the heavens. Not bright lights, but the sudden absence of clouds, like an empty space left on purpose. Revelation 6:14 reads, "The sky receded like a scroll being rolled up, the picture of the sky tearing open, then seeming to shrink back around a center point," feels very close to that description. If the sky can roll up in a symbolic way, could these perfect round holes be a quiet warning that the familiar structure of our world isn't permanent? When the signs keep coming back, when the sky seems to be peeled open bit by bit, maybe what we need isn't just an explanation. Maybe what we need is to wake up. If one day that hole doesn't close, if it just keeps growing bigger and deeper and stops being only a gap in the clouds, are we ready to face whatever's waiting on the other side? Is that opening just a weather event? Or could it be a crack, letting a holy gaze see right through to our hearts? 6. Green orbs floating in Alaska. In the deep darkness of Alaska, 3 bright electric green orbs suddenly appeared, hanging in the air like wireless lights strung across the sky. No sound, no trail of smoke, just brilliant light drifting slowly in perfect silence, making anyone who saw them wonder, is this a natural event or some kind of sign being sent down? Out in the wild near Delta Junction, where the northern lights usually dance across the winter sky, This was different. Not the flowing bands of aurora we're used to, but 3 clear round spheres glowing electric green like neon, holding a steady formation thousands of feet up. They moved smoothly, no flashing, no color changes, almost like an invisible rhythm was guiding them. Each orb looked bigger than a small house from the ground, and their light didn't spread out. It stayed concentrated, feeling thick and deep. The usual cold, dark Alaskan night turned mysterious, peaceful, yet heart-pounding at the same time. Standing under that sky, who wouldn't wonder if what they were seeing belonged to the earth or to the heavens? Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in